Hi, Kelly Eckhold here to update you with the key events of the week. So this week a real highlight was the June quarter inflation numbers, which came in a little lower than expectations at 0.5% for the quarter and 2.7% for the year. And while that outcome is pretty encouraging, especially given that some commentators, not us, had much higher forecasts for inflation for that quarter, it still remains the case that inflation is still pretty high. And the overall message that we took out of the CPI is that inflation pressures remain contained, but they're not low. And certainly the outlook for inflation really looks like it's more like inflation's going to settle around 2.5% for the year for the foreseeable future, as opposed to heading down to 2% or certainly much below 2%. Globally, the focus has really been on Trump's trade deals, which have been going pretty well. We've actually seen a couple of big deals now announced for Indonesia and Japan, and it increasingly looks like 15 to 20% is looking like the new global norm for tariffs on trade with America, which compares pretty favourably to New Zealand's 10% tariff that was announced back in April and hopefully will continue to survive. All of this means that uncertainty out there is dropping real fast, and that's why equity markets have raced up to record highs. And it's also why consensus forecasts for global growth are now being revised up, as those negative Nellies who really cut their growth forecasts for global growth significantly back in April are having to retreat with their tails back between their legs. On the domestic front, on the dairy sector, we've actually seen some better news there as well. We've had two quite well supported dairy auctions in the last couple of weeks where prices have risen, and as I speak I've been looking out there on the docks next to our office where we see a big line of tractors that have just come off the boat from overseas. That's telling you that farming money is really starting to flow down. I'll be back to update you again next week.